On to the last segment of the podcast. I think this is a segment for Riv to shed light on one of his favorite players because he loves talking about him.
Teach the kids.
But we just made this a segment in general to talk about some underrated players. But Riv wants to give his spiel on Shai. He can. So, Riv, you can start off first. Do you think Shai, SGA, is the most underrated player in the NBA?
I think he's definitely walking into that territory. You look at his numbers: 24, 6 and 5, blanking on that. He is at a young age. He's already one of the best isolation scorers in the NBA. He's top 5 in isolation points already. He's one of those guys who his creation skills is so ridiculous. He can hit that 3-point shot. He can break you down in the pick and roll game. He has the euro. He has the floater. There's literally no, aside from his 3-point shot, which is shown like it's been up and down. There's literally inside the 3-point line. There's no weakness in his game. He can do it all, and his playmaking is as solid as it gets. He's a really good off-ball defender. On ball, it can get a little better, but he's still young. I think right now, like guards, this is a guard league. This league, this is the golden era of guards, and I think people are forgetting SGA's name when they're mentioning Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, Devin Booker. And I'm not saying he's on their level, but I'm saying like the John Tamers. I think when we mention these guys' names, we need to remember SGA's name because he's a guy who, when he plays, OKC is somewhat competitive. This is a team that he puts them on their back and he makes the game competitive. And this is a guy who can definitely put up buckets in the fourth quarter in the clutch with the best of them. I mean, this guy is extremely different, and he's still relatively young. I remember in the draft, people were saying Kevin Knox might be better than him, and coming out of Kentucky, he was the best player in Kentucky to me, like easily he was the best. And then when he went to the Clippers, I knew he'd be a contributor in that playoff team. And then when he got traded, playing with Chris Paul, that really opened up his game, or when he knows how to turn it off, turn it on. It helped his patience to the game. It helped the way he looked at the game. So I think for me, he's definitely one of the most underrated players in the league. And I'll even add 2 more because the topic says add 2 or 3 more players. So I'll add 2 more. Another one who's underrated in this game, shout out to him from Denver, Will Barton. This dude is a bucket. He's been the second best player for Denver for majority of the year. He's been dealt with injuries before this year, but this year, next to the Joker, I know we like to say the Joker is virtually playing with nobody, but Will Barton has been that guy for them, that second guy for them, giving them buckets in key stretches. And for number 3, shout out to MKP because we've been on the same wagon. Robert Williams, he is easily, without a doubt, top 5 defensive bigs in the league. He's 6'8". Yeah. Who's John?
Tortelli.
He didn't. I don't know.
He loves.
Shout out to John Tortelli.
I'm a big Time Lord fan too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Joel as well.
You're a big what?
Time Lord.
Williams.
That's his nickname.
Oh my God.
This guy's a fan of everyone.
I made a film announcement on him last year.
I don't believe you.
Respect me.
But yeah, Robert Williams, he's one of the best defensive bigs in the league. Him being at 6'8" has definitely changed the Boston Celtics defense, them having that back anchor. And now when your wings are playing elite defense, and you got guard play that's playing elite defense, and you got a 6'8" big who's blocking everything, this is the perfect, Boston has a perfect defense. And shout out to Robert Williams, Time Lord. He's definitely put them at a better space than they was, because I know Al Horford's a good defender, but he's old. Robert Williams brings that athleticism, that versatility, and I love Robert Williams' game. So those are my 3 underrated players.
I like it a lot. Now, just to shed a little light, 100%. I'm with Riv. Great names.
You better be.
I'm going to just speak very briefly on SGA.
Respect him.
I feel as if he is, yes, I would label him as underrated, and it's for the fact that he's not in a bigger market, and it's his play is not translating to wins, and it's not his fault. The roster as a whole is just not good enough to compete with these other teams right now in the NBA. He's fantastic, and because they're not winning, he's not getting more appreciation, and that's why I feel like he's underrated, Now, for my other underrated players, Desmond Bain, he has been unbelievable in terms of his improvement from last season to this season. He improved his scoring averages almost 9 full points, averaging 18 points this season, shooting 45% from the field, shooting 41% from 3, excellent defender, and is when John Morant went down, we saw Desmond Bain elevate his play and keep the Grizzlies, or really start to get the Grizzlies going on that right path of being the Grizzlies that we are seeing right now. And then John Morant came back, and you would expect Desmond Bain's production to come down. Of course, it came down a little bit, but he has been one of the most consistent options for the Grizzlies all season long. Definitely a strong reason why the Grizzlies are as great as they are outside of John Morant. Now, my number two most underrated player is Boyan Bogdanovic. this is a guy that I've really had to teach myself about because this guy.
I'm sorry. Before you continue, Boyan is Atlanta. Boyan is
Boyan is Utah.
Yeah, Boyan is Utah.
Okay, I get them so confused.
So he has been one of the more overlooked scorers in the NBA. This is a guy that can give you 20 any night. A guy who is shooting 45% from the field, is a knockdown three-point shooter, is a knockdown free throw shooter, shoots almost 90% from the free throw line. EFG of 55% for his career, 46% from the field for his career, averaging 18 points per season, 18 points per game this season. Definitely in terms of offensively, this guy is definitely one of the more underrated players in the league. And I went a little bit more low-key. Kelden Johnson. Now, you look from last season to this season, averaging 16 points a game, 6 boards a game, has upped his scoring from almost four full points from last season, shooting 47% from the field and shooting over 40% from three-point range on 2 attempts a game, which is pretty solid for a big man. I like Kelton Johnson's game. I think defensively he needs to improve to really become that all-around player, but just on a low-key basis, Kelton Johnson definitely is underrated.
So you're right. I think SGA is underrated. I think it has less to do with market and more about that they lose.
Definitely. But I agree.
Since the All-Star break, he's been phenomenal. He's been going on insane scoring stretches. These are my 3 most underrated players in the NBA, though. DeAngelo-Russell.
I was thinking about him,
If this guy names all Timberwolves, I'm
might.
going to crack up.
DeAngelo-Russell is a really good playmaker, one of the better volume shooters in the NBA, and he's really upped his defensive play this year. He's, I think, one of the main anchors on defense for the Timberwolves. Pascal Siacome, to me, is underrated. He's an all-around player. He can do literally everything on the court. People still kind of view him in this light because he didn't do great in the bubble. In the playoffs, he was very inefficient. He didn't play well, and that was his first test as a number 1 option. But Pascal Siakam this year has been phenomenal for the Raptors, and I think he is one of the more underrated players in the league. And my third guy, man, is actually, I'm gonna throw 2 more in here.
All right.
I think RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is somebody that doesn't get talked about enough. And
I'm glad you let this rock because that's insane. But go ahead.
I think he gets talked about in a bad light. That's why.
I'm just saying our good friend Joel over here who has been...
He apologized, so I let him walk. He apologized.
Did
So
you apologize?
Yeah, he did.
RJ Barrett, to me, I think is now one of the more underrated players. Wow. He's averaged 26 since the All-Star break. Since January 1st, he's averaging like 24, 25 points per game. He's been efficient. Now when he's finally has the ball in his hands, he's making the most out of his opportunities, and I think that's a great sign for the Knicks moving forward. And my last guy is Wendell Carter Jr.
I hate you.
He's a double-double machine.
I love that.
Wendell Carter Jr. is a double-double machine. He
Every
can
name
shoot
you
the
said
3,
is fire.
and he can play great defensively. He can guard 1 through 5. How is he not one of the more underrated players in the league?
Pascal's the only name that I was thinking on your list that I was going to put on my list, but felt as if people already acknowledge Pascal as being one of the better ones.
Put D-Lo.
But every other player
Wendell
you
would
great.
never get nothing out of him.
So let's recap this. So
Let's do it.
D-Lo or SGA, real quick.
More underrated?
No, who's better?
SGA.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I just had to make sure
It's
he's
not
on
a
the same
question.
page.
I love D-Lo, but that's not a question. All right. So most underrated players in the NBA, we're each going to name a couple. So DeAngelo-Russell is mine. He's been we know he's a great scorer and a playmaker, but he's been really good defensively for the Timberwolves this year. Pascal Siakam, all around, just a great player. Wendell Carter Jr., double-double machine, can stretch the floor and is a great defender. And RJ Barrett, he's averaging 26 since the All-Star break, 25 since January 1st. The Knicks finally are giving him the keys, and he's making the most out of it.
And for me, my underrated players, SGA. He's one of the best ISO scorers in the NBA. He can do it all. He has damn near no weakness in his game. Number 2, Will Barton, the number 2 guy for Denver right now. Makes timely buckets, is clutch, and he definitely helps out the Joker when it's needed. And for me, number 3 is Time Lord. If the Boston Celtics started off the way they finished, he would definitely be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. And I think next year would be the year where he fully shows that ability. So that's my 3.
So for my 3 most underrated players, I have Desmond Bain, who's one of the best 3-and-D players in the league. has really blossomed this season offensively, and defensively he's been one of the more stable pieces for the Grizzlies, and a big part of the reason why they're as great as they are this season outside of Ja Morant. Number 2, I have Boyan Bogdanovic, mostly for his offensive game and how overlooked it is, how efficient he is, and how consistent he has been year in, year out. And lastly, more low-key, Kelden Johnson, who's up to his scoring averages. Excuse me. One of my last most underrated players is Kelden Johnson, given the fact that he's up to scoring points per game this season, has been very efficient with his scoring, 47% from the field, 40% from 3, and he needs to improve his defense, but offensively, he's really taking great strides in his game, and I feel like he's definitely being overlooked.
I found the Robert Williams video.
Nice.
That I made.
I knew you would.
You want me to play it right now?
Let me see.
It could play live on the
Why
podcast.
not? Yeah,
actually.
it's your content.
Yeah.
We're not getting copyrighted.
Yeah. There's actually a song in here, but it's
great.
like one of those. I used to make like my film analysis videos over like music. That's facts. That's facts. Yo, that shit go hard though.
That was so on cue.
So here's the video.
The other day I made a video about Nicholas Claxton and how good he is, but Robert Williams is right up there as being one of the most underrated players in the league currently. This game against the Rockets, he had 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists, and shot 9 for 9 from the field, so he was perfect. He's one of only 3 players to do that in the game. Those players being Nikola Jokic and Wilt Chamberlain 3 times.
He just threw the ball at the rim.
He's more of a rim runner on offense, but on defense is where he really shines. He's a great shot blocker. He's undersized for the center position at only 6'8", which means he can step out and guard guards, but he also has a long wingspan at 7'6", and that's why he's able to contest shots so well. What Williams doesn't have in height, he makes up in his gigantic wingspan. And now that Daniel Tice has gotten traded to the Bulls, Robert Williams is going to have a way bigger impact on the Celtics. The other day I made a video.
Come on, bro. I was early on Rob Will, man.
You were.
Rob Will.
Nah, I called the song. I knew it.
That shit had me crying, bro. Oh my god. Ha-da-da. Ha-da-da-da.